in terms of vTaiwan and like this space in which enables everybody to participate, I'm really interested in the extent to which, for example, in Taiwan, how well has that succeeded? Do people know about this opportunity to participate, or is it certain sections of the community, or how deep has it sort of got embedded in Taiwanese society?
Yeah, I think it can be really it could be always promoted better. I wouldn't say everyone in Taiwan know about vTaiwan, and in fact, most of my friends who knew I was participating and they heard about it, and they were like, they probably were angry about not knowing that before. So a lot of times I share with my friend group who were not in the civic tech community, they would be really surprised that something like that existed and be really kind of concerned about the fact that they didn't know before and who were there actually participating. So I do think vTaiwan can be promoted a bit more widely in Taiwanese society. vTaiwan is known by the international community a bit more than the local Taiwanese community. There are many cases, many topics discussed on the vTaiwan platform, and I think the one got most acclaim or most attention was the Uber case, where in 2015 the Ministry of Transportation and Communication proposed in vTaiwan to say we want to start discuss about regulating Uber because it was not operating legally, and with the penalty increased, they didn't really obey any regulation, and there's probably no regulation to do the regulating about Uber. So the case started, and I think the population there were about 200,000 people participated actively or just browsing giving attention to the topic. And I think that was the most engaged topic ever on vTaiwan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's one certainly that caught my attention and has also encouraged me to use Paice. And that actually maybe I want to sort of zoom in and out a little bit here. So one of the things that I'd love to zoom in on in there is that what happened in Taiwan around the Uber case and how you use vTaiwan through the different stages of vTaiwan to actually create legislation. But particularly, I'm really interested in how you use Paice there, and because often in the reporting around it, I've seen people say that you kind of gamified it to move people towards consensus, and I wondered whether that's an accurate representation of how you use Paice there, or how did you encourage people to move towards consensus? I know that Paice itself identifies consensus, but was there some process that sort of pushed it even more towards that?
I think we don't have like written policy to gamify the use of Paice, but when we engage people or share the survey around our friend group, we would encourage people to rewrite the statements. I think that's how people might be mentioning the gamification part of it. Because if the platform or interface is a social media interface, if you see a statement that you don't like, you can actually do a lot more about that statement. You can probably fight back or reply back, but on Paice, the best you can do is to disagree or rewrite it. So we encourage people to hey, why not come up with your idea that's outwinning this statement that you didn't like. And in the Uber case, in the beginning you see like 4 different groups of people. You can clearly see, although we don't really try to annotate them, but you can see a group of people who are representing Uber drivers and a group of people who are representing the taxi drivers. And there are the third group representing the Uber passengers who really love the service because of the experience. And the fourth group were people who are Uber passengers, maybe because of other concerns or they had a bad experience with Uber and so on. And then when the community started to encourage people to comment more and rewrite more, you start to see the clusters merged, and you start to see creativities also emerge. Something like, why not we use this chance to modify our taxi law and come up with a better competitive environment for Uber and taxi as well. So after that idea was taken into consideration and be ratified into regulation, we also could observe some changes in the taxi law as well. You can, for example, see Taiwanese taxis used to be yellow all the way, but then they have the chance to be painted in different colors because that's a different story after the debate. And then you can see more freedom in the market. People can make their own apps for taxi unions. They can make their own app, very similar as Uber, but they have their own app to attract more passengers as well. So you start to see a very benign competition between the traditional taxi community and also the new tech-like Uber community.
Mm-hmm. So in talking about sort of collective intelligence or even collective wisdom, would you say that the outcome of that was kind of mutually beneficial? Were to some extent all sides, were the taxi drivers, were all the stakeholders happy with the result?
It's of course good and bad. Like taxi, they need to invest in money into making the app, for example, and for Uber, they need to kind of change their business model in Taiwan at least. I know they have a different business model in Taiwan compared to other countries or cities. But I think everyone needs to compromise a little bit to reach the rough consensus. Like roughly the consensus that everyone sort of agree, but not fully satisfied. Okay. And that's where we can start changing our regulations. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise it would be just a lot of debate and conflict. But then when we start to see some kind of agreement or consensus among different parties, you start to see the starting point of the root of growing something together between different parties as well. I think that's why Paice is really interesting, because it helps us identify the starting point. Although it was a very complicated topic, and although it was maybe the largest crowd we need to facilitate conversation with, and the fact that it's facilitating a mass population into the deliberation, that's something really really beautiful, and I haven't seen that kind of example in other tools. So I would love to see if there are any other tools like Paice that can facilitate mass population deliberation. And I think vTaiwan people will also be really willing to adopt that into the process as well.
Yeah, that's the thing about vTaiwan, isn't it? It's quite a flexible thing, that it's open to all kinds of tools and and different processes. Yeah, fantastic.